At 75, Lindsey Buckingham opens up about Stevie Nicks and Fleetwood Mac. Lindsey Buckingham, born October 3, 1949, in Palo Alto, California, is an American musician, singer, songwriter, and producer best known as the lead guitarist and one of the creative forces behind Fleetwood Mac. Joining the band in 1975 with then-partner Stevie Nicks, he helped reshape its sound with innovative guitar work and layered harmonies, contributing to the global success of albums like Rumors, 1977, and Tusk, 1979. Beyond Fleetwood Mac, Buckingham built a respected solo career, blending rock, pop, and experimental sounds. His distinctive finger-picking style and artistic vision cement him as one of rock's most influential figures. At 75, Buckingham shares about his complicated relationship with Stevie Nicks, both an ex-lover and a bandmate in Fleetwood Mac. Early days, Fleetwood rise. Before Lindsey Buckingham became synonymous with Fleetwood Mac's meteoric rise, his journey began with a creative partnership that seemed both destined and fragile. In 1973, he and Stevie Nicks released their debut duo album, Buckingham Nicks. Though the record failed commercially and was dropped by the label shortly after its release, it revealed the unique chemistry between the two young musicians. Nicks's ethereal voice blended seamlessly with Buckingham's inventive guitar playing and intricate arrangements, creating a sound that, while overlooked at the time, hinted at greatness to come. Despite the album's commercial disappointment, the artistry captured within it drew the attention of key figures in the music industry. The turning point arrived when drummer Mick Fleetwood, searching for a new guitarist after internal shakeups within Fleetwood Mac, stumbled upon the album. Impressed by Buckingham's guitar work, Fleetwood approached him with an invitation to join the band. Buckingham, however, Bush was clear from the outset. He and Nicks were a package deal. He refused to accept unless Stevie was also included. Fleetwood, recognizing the depth of their musical connection and the potential to revitalize Fleetwood Mac's sound, agreed. This pivotal moment set the stage for one of the most transformative chapters in rock history. By 1975, both Buckingham and Nicks officially joined Fleetwood Mac, reshaping the group's trajectory. Their addition not only introduced a new sonic identity, but also infused the band with the creative spark that would lead to some of the most iconic albums of the decade. What began as a failed experiment with Buckingham Nicks evolved into the foundation of a legendary collaboration that would forever change the landscape of rock music. The breakthrough with Fleetwood Mac. The arrival of Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks in 1975 marked a radical turning point for Fleetwood Mac, both musically and commercially. Their first album with the band, simply titled Fleetwood Mac, became a sensational breakthrough, propelling the group into mainstream stardom. The record featured timeless hits like Rhiannon, sung with mystical allure by Nicks, and Monday Morning, an energetic showcase of Buckingham's songwriting and guitar brilliance. With these tracks, alongside Christine McVie's melodic contributions, the band successfully transitioned from its blues rock roots into a polished pop rock sound that resonated with a wider audience. For Buckingham, this was validation of his unique vision, crafting songs that balanced emotional depth with radio-friendly appeal. The commercial success was staggering. Fleetwood Mac climbed to the top of the Billboard charts, selling millions of copies and introducing the band to a new generation of fans. Critics praised the fresh direction, noting how Buckingham's intricate guitar work and production sensibilities blended seamlessly with Nicks's haunting presence and the established talents of the McVies and Mick Fleetwood. This fusion of styles created a new identity for the band, cementing them as one of the most dynamic and influential acts of the era. Yet behind the curtain of success, personal tensions were beginning to simmer. The romantic relationship between Buckingham and Nicks, which had fueled their early artistic partnership, started to unravel under the pressures of fame, relentless touring, and creative clashes. While they remained bound by their music, the cracks in their personal bond foreshadowed deeper conflicts that would later shape the band's most iconic and turbulent works. Rumors born from heartbreak. If Fleetwood Mac, 1975, had been the breakthrough, then Rumors, 1977, was the defining moment that immortalized Lindsey Buckingham, Stevie Nicks, and the entire band. Yet its brilliance was born out of chaos. By the time the group entered the studio to record what would become one of the best-selling albums in music history, Buckingham and Nicks had broken up. Their personal split was only part of the storm. Christine and John McVie were also divorcing. And Mick Fleetwood was navigating his own marital troubles. The recording sessions became a crucible of raw emotions, where pain, resentment, and longing were poured directly into the music. For Buckingham, the bitterness of his breakup with Nicks surfaced in Go Your Own Way. With biting lyrics and an aggressive guitar riff, the song channeled his anger and sense of betrayal. It was both a cathartic release and a thinly veiled message to Nicks, performed night after night with her standing just a few feet away. Go Your Own Way captured the turmoil of heartbreak not as a private wound, but as a universal cry, resonating with millions who felt the sting of fractured love. In contrast, Nicks responded with Dreams, a song that embraced acceptance and reflection rather than confrontation. With its smooth rhythm and ethereal vocals, Dreams became the band's only #1 hit in the US. Its lyrics spoke of moving on, of recognizing when a relationship had run its course. Where Buckingham's song was fiery, Nicks's was contemplative. Two sides of the same breakup, placed side by side on the same record, creating an extraordinary dialogue through music. The rest of the band contributed songs shaped by their own struggles, from Christine McVie's bittersweet Don't Stop to Fleetwood's steady rhythms holding it all together. Despite the personal chaos, or perhaps because of it, the band tapped into a creative wellspring that turned private anguish into collective triumph. Rumors became not only a reflection of Fleetwood Mac's fractured relationships, but also a symbol of resilience. Proof that out of heartbreak could come art that transcended the pain. Commercially, the album was a phenomenon, selling over 40 million copies worldwide and earning a Grammy for Album of the Year. More importantly, it became a cultural touchstone, with its songs continuing to speak to new generations decades later. For Buckingham and Nicks, working together after their breakup was agonizing, yet it cemented their legacy as one of rock's most iconic creative duos. Rumors was both their battlefield and their masterpiece, an album born of broken hearts, but destined for eternity. Success and rising tensions. After the monumental triumph of Rumors, 1977, Fleetwood Mac had become more than just a successful band. They were a cultural phenomenon. The album's global sales and chart dominance elevated them into the ranks of rock's elite, and with fame came both opportunity and pressure. Their follow-up project, Tusk, 1979, was destined to be one of the most ambitious undertakings in rock history. But it also revealed the growing fractures within the band, particularly between Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks. Buckingham, fresh off the validation of Rumors, grew increasingly determined to break free from expectations. He was fascinated by punk and new wave, styles that were raw, experimental, and unpredictable. To him, Fleetwood Mac's next record couldn't simply replicate the polished pop rock that had made them superstars. It had to challenge conventions. His perfectionism and obsession with studio experimentation drove him to push boundaries, layering tracks with unusual sounds and adopting unconventional recording methods. Nicks, on the other hand, embodied a contrasting artistic philosophy. Her songwriting leaned toward emotional storytelling, melodic lines, and mystical imagery that resonated with millions of fans. She valued authenticity of feeling over studio trickery, believing that music's true power came from simplicity and honesty. This difference in approach often put her at odds with Buckingham, whose relentless drive for innovation could clash with her more intuitive and lyrical style. The creative push and pull between them became both a gift and a curse. On one hand, it produced a dynamic tension that gave Fleetwood Mac their signature duality, Buckingham's sharp edges balanced by Nicks's ethereal softness. Songs like Sarah and the title track Tusk showcase this dichotomy, blending experimentation with emotional depth. On the other hand, the constant friction created an exhausting working environment, with recording sessions that stretched endlessly and interpersonal conflicts that strained the group's already fragile relationships. The rest of the band found themselves caught in the middle. Christine McVie often acted as a stabilizing force, her warm and melodic contributions softening the harsher edges of the Buckingham-Nicks battles. Mick Fleetwood, as both drummer and de facto leader, worked tirelessly to keep the band together through the turbulence, yet even their efforts couldn't mask the growing cracks. While Tusk achieved commercial success, it did not match Rumour's staggering sales, leaving some members frustrated with Buckingham's experimental direction. Still, in hindsight, this period demonstrated the paradox at the heart of Fleetwood Mac's genius. The very conflicts that threatened to tear them apart also fueled some of their most daring and memorable work. The tension between Buckingham's perfectionism and Nicks's emotional honesty defined not just their music, but also their enduring legacy. Crisis and separation. By the late 1980s, the creative friction that had fueled Fleetwood Mac's brilliance began to spiral into outright crisis. Years of emotional strain, relentless touring, and clashing artistic visions between Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks finally erupted into a breaking point. What had once been a powerful artistic tension now devolved into hostility. During a heated band meeting in 1987, the disagreements escalated beyond words. Accounts describe the confrontation turning physical, shocking even those who had grown accustomed to Fleetwood Mac's turbulent dynamic. For Buckingham, the atmosphere had become unbearable. The constant push and pull with Nicks, coupled with exhaustion from years of carrying the band's creative weight, left him disillusioned. He longed for independence and the ability to pursue his music without the shadow of constant conflict. That same year, Buckingham made the painful decision to leave Fleetwood Mac. His departure was a seismic shift, marking the end of an era defined by both spectacular success and equally spectacular turmoil. Though the band carried on without him, the absence of Buckingham's vision and guitar work left a void. For fans, his exit symbolized how the very passion that had built Fleetwood Mac also tore it apart. The split was not just a professional decision, but the culmination of years of unresolved personal and creative battles. Reunion and another rift. Even after his dramatic exit in 1987, Lindsey Buckingham's story with Fleetwood Mac was far from finished. Over the years, he returned to the band in cycles, drawn back by the music and the enduring bond with both the group and its fans. The most notable reunion came during the 2013 World Tour, where Buckingham's fiery guitar solos and unmistakable stage presence reignited the classic magic. For a moment, it seemed as though the wounds of the past had healed, allowing the band to embrace its legacy without the heavy shadow of old conflicts. Yet beneath the surface, the old tensions still simmered. Buckingham and Stevie Nicks never fully resolved their creative and personal differences, and their working relationship often teetered between professionalism and hostility. The band, long accustomed to its fragile equilibrium, found itself once again in turmoil when disagreements about scheduling, creative direction, and personal dynamics came to a head. In 2018, Fleetwood Mac made the shocking decision to part ways with Buckingham once more. Reports indicated clashes over tour plans, but Buckingham himself believed that Nicks played a central role in the decision, pushing the rest of the band to choose between them. His dismissal not only fractured the lineup again, but also underscored a painful truth, despite decades of collaboration and shared success. Some divisions could never be fully bridged. For fans, the split was bittersweet. While Fleetwood Mac continued with a new lineup, the absence of Buckingham, the architect of much of their signature sound, left an undeniable gap. The cycle of reunion and rupture revealed the complex reality of the band's history, that their brilliance was inseparable from their battles, and that their music was both a triumph and a testament to the price of unresolved conflict. Perspective at 75. At 75, Lindsey Buckingham reflects on a lifetime marked by both triumph and turbulence. His journey with Fleetwood Mac remains one of rock's most complex sagas, a story of breathtaking creativity intertwined with unrelenting conflict. Although he had left the band in 1987, Buckingham reunited several times over the years, most memorably during the 2013 World Tour. Those performances reignited the fiery magic that had defined Fleetwood Mac in their heyday, with Buckingham's guitar solos and raw intensity reminding fans why he was considered the band's creative engine. For a time, it seemed as though the band could embrace its legacy without the scars of past battles overshadowing the music. But the truth, as Buckingham admits in interviews, is that the old fractures never fully healed. His relationship with Stevie Nicks, both professionally and personally, always remained fragile, a blend of admiration, bitterness, and creative tension. By 2018, the unresolved issues came to a breaking point once again. Buckingham was abruptly dismissed from the band, officially over disagreements about tour scheduling, yet he has long maintained that the real reason lay deeper, that Nicks had demanded his removal, forcing the others to choose between them. For Buckingham, the betrayal was profound, not just as a bandmate, but as someone who had devoted decades to shaping Fleetwood Mac's sound and legacy. Now, in his later years, Buckingham's perspective has shifted. While the sting of being pushed out still lingers, he has chosen to focus on gratitude for the music that touched millions, for the audiences that still cheer his solo performances, and for the resilience that carried him through heartbreak and reinvention. He recognizes that the tension with Nicks, though painful, also sparked some of Fleetwood Mac's most timeless works, from Rumors to Tusk. In his words, the conflict was both curse and blessing, the fire that consumed, but also the fire that illuminated. At 75, Buckingham stands as both a survivor and a creator, aware that history will remember not the feuds alone, but the masterpieces forged in their shadow. His story is no longer about reconciliation with the band, but about peace with himself, a final chapter written not in bitterness, but in acceptance. Enduring legacy. For all the turbulence and heartbreak, Lindsey Buckingham acknowledges that his story with Fleetwood Mac, and especially with Stevie Nicks, is inseparable from his legacy. Despite the wounds that never fully healed, he admits that Nicks remains an irreplaceable part of the band's identity and of his own artistic journey. In interviews, he has said, "The music we created will always hold a part of my heart." That sentiment captures the paradox of their partnership, a bond forged in both love and conflict, producing art that transcended personal pain. Songs like Go Your Own Way, Dreams, and Silver Springs have become cultural touchstones, immortalizing the raw emotions of their fractured relationship. Go Your Own Way radiates Buckingham's anger and defiance, while Dreams reflects Nicks's quiet wisdom and acceptance, and Silver Springs captures the lingering ache of love that never quite fades. These songs turned their private heartbreak into something universal, allowing generations of listeners to see their own struggles mirrored in the music. Today, Buckingham views this body of work as a gift, not only to fans, but also to himself. The songs remain living reminders that beauty can emerge from turmoil, and that even fractured connections can inspire timeless creativity. Closing reflections on the legacy. The relationship between Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks remains the cornerstone of Fleetwood Mac's legacy, a volatile mix of love, heartbreak, creativity, and conflict. It was a double-edged sword. While it gave birth to masterpieces like Rumors, it also left scars that time could never heal. Though a full reconciliation seems impossible, their music stands eternal. Songs born from pain and passion have become timeless anthems, proving that personal conflict can sometimes ignite the brightest sparks of artistic brilliance. Their story is not only about division, but also about the enduring power of music to transcend broken bonds. If Fleetwood Mac's story moved you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to keep these legends alive.